For thousands of years, the old Kith clans worshipped Sechuk as the great maker whose hand shapes what is. It appears he is neither god nor myth. He is real, and Makan knows this.
Gehenna is a large asteroid field located beyond the Outer Rim, deep within the Vagyr reaches. The Bentusi have given us the coordinates of the Oracle. Intelligence data indicates there is a large military installation protecting extensive archaeological dig sites. It is surrounded by hyperspace inhibitors. We have located a weak point. Prepare to disengage hyperspace.
We have exited hyperspace on the outskirts of the Gehenna Asteroid field.
The Vagyr's hyperspace inhibitors are located on asteroids throughout this sector. We must destroy the inhibitors and disable the field if we are to reach Gehenna undetected. The Vagyr command station is located here. It must be neutralized. Long-range scans detect heavy Vagyr activity in this region. Advise caution.
New research available. New upgrades available.
Okay, hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Homeworld 2 Remastered. So, we are going to research a whole bunch of stuff, improve bombs, better frigates, better pulsar corvettes, increase the armor. So, there's that. Now, these upgrades to like armor and speed and all that, they are significant in a way, so it really does behoove you to actually research them.
Upgrade complete.
So, my plan is I'm going to start building up the fleet a bit more. I want to have a good number of torpedo frigates, a sizable number of bombers. I want to build at least one more flak frigate, and a bunch of gunships, and maybe a handful of interceptors. We will do that.
Production underway.
Because this mission, in some ways, is kind of where the game's difficulty starts to ramp up a bit. So, if you're not careful, and particularly if you do not know where the triggers are, then this mission could get quite tough.
Production underway.
So you do want to create a very well-balanced fleet in order to be successful in this mission.
Flak frigate complete. Upgrade complete.
Anyway, getting back to the issue of the dynamic difficulty of this game, and furthermore, the game basically favoring the Vagyr. One way to kind of work around this, or maybe two ways to kind of work around this, is to, one, either intentionally suck at a mission, or, before the last trigger of the mission, just retire most of your vessels.
Upgrade complete.
And therefore, this creates a situation where in the next mission, when it loads, then you will therefore face fewer enemies. But hopefully you'll have, at that point, enough resources to build your fleet back up again before the next trigger. Now, this is a viable strategy, or those are viable strategies because of the way the game works. Remember how I described the way it reads the composition of your fleet and adjusts the Vagyr fleet accordingly. That said, it is also completely unrealistic because no commander in their right mind would intentionally hamstring themselves by sacrificing most of their firepower. So it just doesn't make any tactical sense. It's like, oh yeah, I want fewer and weaker ships in my fleet, said no admiral ever. So yeah, I'm just gonna give up that firepower. We don't need more firepower, more artillery, more bombs, more guns. Nah, what silliness.
Upgrade complete.
It's kind of an issue of like, well, I mean, you could downsize your forces until, of course, someone comes along with a lot more forces and you realize like, oh, maybe we shouldn't have gotten rid of all that firepower. Anyway, the other way to manage the fleet throughout the game is to, of course, build up a well-rounded fleet.
Complete.
And that said, you need to know the rock, paper, scissors kind of style of gameplay that was meant, that the game is kind of forcing on the player. So, but still, it's kind of heavy-handed, you know? And like I said, you know, like, strike craft, particularly bombers, have been given a major buff to this game. They are deadly against frigates and capital ships. In a way, bombers are actually far more effective than even frigates and capital ships are against each other. Like, a good sizable number of bombers will take out a capital ship faster than the frigates, a bunch of frigates or other capital ships. It's kind of silly. Now, at the end of the last mission, the Bentusi told us to find the Great Progenitor so we can defeat the Vagyr and Makan. Sadly, they are so cryptic that they send us off on this galactic fetch quest. Now, we know from the history that these 3 long-jump hyperspace cores are unique, and they're the only ones of their kind in existence. But that brings me to one of my issues with this game, is that it attempts to create a grander and more epic story, but there's almost no setup for it. It just kind of comes out of nowhere. Yeah, and it's so vague that it's hard to get invested in it. I mean, the developers are aware of this, you know, at least to their credit, and they have said in interviews that their original ideas for the gameplay, they wanted to broaden the story and all that, but because the original gameplay ideas never really survived Inception, it never really worked out. And they've also said that the more you broaden the story, the more you kind of get to a point of diminishing returns. In other words, they've said that doubling the epicness of the story does not mean you're automatically doubling the awesomeness. I mean, the story of Homeworld 1 is simple. It's really just a road trip from point A to point B. So it has more emotional resonance because it's simple, it's easier to understand, and it's geographically clear, right? You're just headed in one direction. In contrast, Homeworld 2's story is like Lord of the Rings, but without a lot of the character buildup. Oh, here come some enemies. Let's take care of them.
Moving to intercept. Strike group reports hostile contact.
So anyway, yeah, the story in Homeworld 2, it's so vague, and and the Higarans, you know, are so far removed from these progenitors and their history and the cores, you know, that it's hard to relate, right? It's hard to get invested in the story, because it's like, oh, these cores, these hyperspace cores become these MacGuffins, become the magical one ring to rule them all, so to speak. But it's like, okay, but they've retconned them, essentially, since the last game, and 2, it's like, well, why? We've been given so little backstory about these progenitors, and who are they, and what are they, yeah, so, again, it's just, there's not very good setup for it. Ooh, look, we have missile corvettes.
Ready.
Gunship squadron complete.
Alright, anyway, so that's one of my kind of issues with the story, is that they attempted to go for something big and grand and epic without properly setting it up.
Complete.
And it just kind of feels almost tacked on, right? It's so vague. And furthermore, Homeworld doesn't really have characters per se. I mean, yes, you could argue like, oh, Karen Sajet, or maybe whoever is voicing Fleet Intelligence, right? They're sort of characters, but even at then, it's not like they have much of an arc.
Ready.
Individual characters do not figure prominently in the Homeworld series. It's more like groups and organizations that become the characters. So like, you know, Fleet Intelligence is not just one person, it's a whole like staff, right? There's presumably like an intelligence and operations staff and so on and so forth within this fleet. Karen is just kind of like the Grand High Admiral or whatever. But even at that, right, you know, the idea is that it's kind of a big strategy game, so individual characters are not as important as are the units, the organizations.
Standing by. Strike group prepare for assault. Confirmed. Strike group to battle positions.
Anyway, let's just deal with the Vagyr here as they come at us. As you can see, they've got good numbers of strike craft that they're trying to send at us.
Strike group under enemy attack.
Group 1 reports victory.
One of the ways to kind of be successful in this game is to
Ready.
let the Vagyr
Talking with
come
carrier.
to you,
Copy.
right? Because in doing
Talking
so, they
with
spread
carrier.
themselves out, and you can defeat them in detail, right? They come at you in like, small little groups of squadrons
Standing
rather
by.
than as one big mass
Repairs
of
initiated.
strike craft and frigates
by.
and capital ships and all that. So if you let them
Strike
come to
group
you, they
coordinates
spread themselves
locked in.
out, and so you can kind of
Reporting. Docking
take them
with
on
carrier.
one at a time, so to speak. So yes, the Vagyr are not very clever and not very
Roger.
tactically proficient at massing their
Standing by.
forces.
Docking with mothership.
So yes, we got our resource collectors. They're largely going to be pulling repair duty for this mission.
Mothership.
We're not really focused on harvesting anything.
Confirmed.
Once I get the
Order
fleet
confirmed.
built up, then we will push off and actually work our way towards these objectives, towards getting these hyperspace inhibitors.
Group 2 copies. Group 2 copies. Group 2 reporting. Strike group moving into position. Group 3 reporting. Strike group coordinates
What I'm
locked
going
in.
to do here actually is I'm going to keep
Group
my
1 copies.
strike craft somewhat separate
Strike group moving
in
into
their
position.
formations from the frigates.
Group 2 standing by.
Simply because they just move faster,
Reporting.
right? They can move
Group
faster
2
with each other
reinforced.
rather than kind of having them tag along with a big group of frigates.
Group 4. Strike group.
I'm trying to get them
coordinates locked in.
organized, right? Because we're
Group
building
3.
stuff, so I need to add,
Roger.
the proper units to the proper groups.
Group 3 reinforced.
Put the gunships in Group 3, put the pulsar gunships in
Group 1
Group 4,
reporting. Group
so
3
on and so
copies.
forth.
Strike group coordinates locked in. Group 3 reporting. Strike group moving into position.
I will say that one good gameplay mechanic that this game implemented was the use of
Group 1
strike
copies.
groups.
Strike
They are
group moving into
a pretty
position.
smart way to do it.
Group 2 copies.
If you make a strike group, it can be of any real composition. It can be totally strike craft, or it can be completely
Standing by.
frigates or destroyers or whatever, or it can be a mix of any of those, right?
Standing by.
If you
Supporting
create a
friendly
strike
units.
group
Group 5
and
copies.
you target something, then the
All
units
weapons
will
on target.
play to their
Roger.
strengths,
Strike
so to
group
speak.
acknowledged. Strike group.
So let's say the
prepare for
Vagyr
assault.
come at you with a bunch of, strike craft and frigates.
Understood. Repair target
So
locked
if
in.
you have a good strike
Attack
group,
complete. Awaiting further orders.
then the bombers will automatically go after the capital ships, while the gunships defend and take out the strike craft and so on. So
Ready.
a good, well-balanced fleet
Course set.
and in proper
Confirmed.
strike groups
Strike
is
group
really good
coordinates
for
locked in. Strike
having
group
them attack.
coordinates locked in.
So you don't have to kind of
Roger.
micromanage how they attack, right? You just say
Strike
like,
group
okay,
moving into
attack that
position.
group, and then the strike
Strike group
group,
moving into
the frigates and the strike craft will automatically
position. Standing by.
attack the appropriate unit according to their strengths. Again, that rock, paper, scissors kind
Repair
of
order
style of
confirmed.
gameplay.
Confirmed.
So let's push off.
Strike group
I
coordinates
guess because
locked
there's
in.
some cap on the number of units within a strike group, so we have 2 groups of strike craft and 1 group of frigates. I'm moving the carrier up to the kind of the center of the map,
Confirmed.
so we can use it as a point to dock and repair strike
group moving
craft.
into position. Copy. Service complete.
So we have these 3 hyperspace inhibitors to take out on these asteroids.
Standing by. Understood. Repair target locked in.
Gonna try and keep these frigates repaired.
Docking with carrier. Ready.
And there
Engage
is a
capital
carrier.
ship.
There should be 2
Confirmed.
carriers
Engage
here in this
capital
mission
ship.
around these 3 hyperspace
Roger.
inhibitors.
Subsystem target.
They're kind of at the
acquired.
midway points between the 3 asteroids here. So there's one here. This is one. We'll just take this out.
Ready.
Blast it. Now we do have improved bombs, so they should have good
Green.
subsystem targeting capabilities. At least the bombers, anyway. There we go. Took out their fighter facility. And they've got it down to about half health. In some ways, if you examine like some of the formations, like the frigate phalanx, they do kind of mimic the early naval tactics of the 15th to 17th centuries, when a lot of naval battles kind of degenerated into brawls, right? Now, early naval battles, early naval formations in many ways, were kind of commanded by army officers because there was not a dedicated naval officer corps, at least not in the Royal Navy or the Dutch Navy, I believe. So they just kind of used the tactics that they knew at the time, which were army tactics.
Roger.
And furthermore, many of the ships, right, like during the Anglo-Dutch Wars and all that, a lot of these ships were merchant vessels that were pressed into service. So they had merchant seamen crews, not professional, naval sailors and all that. They had army officers leading these formations, so not dedicated naval officers because they just didn't have them at the time. So it turned into this big, ugly brawl, and they had to develop all these rules, formations, line ahead, line abreast, so on and so forth. So yeah, early naval tactics kind of degenerated in a way, and gradually, though, over the centuries, they built up their professional leadership and adopted, better formations and better command and control and communications. So anyway, every time I attack something with the strike craft, I generally want to try and bring them back and dock them with the carrier. That's why I put the carrier there. And that way they can replenish their strength and their forces.
Supporting friendly units.
And we've got a bunch of them coming right at that frigate formation.
Repair order confirmed. Confirmed.
Luckily, the flak frigates are not being crazy suicidal and charging out to try and engage another frigate or whatever.
Under attack.
As you can see, we got some frigates coming in from the right there.
Damage fleet. Strike group attack order confirmed. Reporting. Strike group attack order confirmed. Reporting.
Again, but you can see the flak frigates are shooting at the frigates. Why?
Strike group attack order confirmed.
No. Shoot at those strike craft coming at you from above. Or from the top of the screen.
Roger. Strike group to battle positions. Acknowledged.
Let the torpedo
Strike group
frigates
under
deal
enemy
with the
attack.
other frigates.
Reporting. Strike group attack order confirmed. Copy. Strike group under enemy attack. Roger.
But again, this demonstrates, right, if you let the Vagyr come to you, they spread themselves out. See how they kind of trail each other? Yep, that's basically what you want to do, so you can just take them on, just small groups at a time.
Roger. Confirmed.
I sometimes kind of ponder the logistics of the Higaran Navy here.
Attacking
Do they differentiate between line officers and staff officers like the US Navy does?
Ready.
There is mention in Homeworld 1 of non-combat personnel, at least in the lore of that game, right? Like aboard the resource collectors.
The enemy is using hyperspace gates to bring in reinforcements. We can use this to our advantage. Marine frigates will be able to capture the gates.
Alright, so yes, they have these hyperspace gates they're using to bring in forces. Don't bother with building marine frigates. There is no pressing need to capture these hyperspace gates. That said, if you do not destroy the hyperspace gates, then a large group of frigates will eventually arrive, and it can make life pretty difficult during this mission. Again, just try and deal with the forces. I'm trying to take out that other carrier, but I've got other problems here. But yes, deal with those hyperspace gates, so you don't get jumped by a big group of frigates that suddenly appear out of hyperspace.
Standing by.
But anyway, like I was saying, right, we know there are non-combat personnel within the fleet, right? In the lore, aboard resource collectors, it's just,
Moving in.
non-combat personnel. It's also speculated that these ships probably have a heavy degree of automation to them, so the crew sizes are probably smaller than you would think, right? For a capital ship like a frigate, or a destroyer or a carrier, right? It's probably not a massive crew. Probably not within like the thousands or whatever, because there's probably so much automation within the fleet
Roger. Capital ship
that
locked
they
in.
just probably don't need that many people. second carrier here is about to go down. There we go.
Acknowledged.
I mean, for a real-world comparison, like an Iowa-class battleship during World War II in Korea had close to almost 3,000 crew. But by the 1980s, when they had been refitted and all that, that crew size had been reduced to just under 2,000, so about 1,000 less. And a lot of that, at least in some part, is due to automation, but also because they removed a lot of the anti-aircraft guns, the 20 millimeters and the 40 millimeters. They just didn't need them anymore, so they don't need those crew to man that.
Flak frigate complete.
The inevitable march of technology and, to some extent, increasing automation and computerization of a lot of the things in the fleet
En route. Group 5
does
reporting.
not necessitate such
Confirmed.
massive crew
Group
sizes.
5 reinforced.
So I'm going to have the frigates kind of just start engaging these
En route.
hyperspace inhibitors. It will take them a while. We'll actually see that the strike craft are quicker at destroying these hyperspace inhibitors than the frigates are,
Reporting.
somewhat strangely. I mean, you think these torpedoes will be pretty powerful that they're
Strike
shooting
group
at
to
it.
battle positions. Reporting.
But again, strike craft have been given such a massive buff
Strike
in this
group moving
game.
into position. Strike group coordinates locked in. Copy.
I don't know, maybe you don't really need, because I've set the difficulty scaler down to
Strike group
0,
coordinates locked in.
maybe you don't need to take out those hyperspace gates.
Ready.
So maybe if you just leave them be, then they won't bring in a big bunch of Vagyr frigates. I don't know. Well, in any case, I'm just, splitting these strike craft up into 2 groups, and we're gonna have them take on the remaining ones. We have some mine layer corvettes there. They're pooping out some mines.
Strike group prepare for assault.
It's a very interesting formation. It's like 2 diamonds there for the strike craft. Alright, there we go. Let's take out the gate.
Strike group under enemy attack. I'm taking hits here. Under fire. Requesting order.
There we go, got it. Alright, now deal with the rest of that, please.
Strike group prepare for assault.
Now, in actuality, you do not need to take out these 3 hyperspace inhibitors on these asteroids. You can actually move the entire fleet. Once you destroy all the enemies in this area, you can actually just move the entire fleet towards the command station and take it out that way. So that command station over there is actually on the map. And you can literally just move your mothership, very slowly of course, towards that area. So it just takes a long time for it to move across the map, but it is there, actually. And you can move there the good old-fashioned traditional way. There is actually no need to take out the hyperspace inhibitors on these asteroids.
Strike group to battle positions. Strike group to battle positions.
Hyperspace inhibitor destroyed.
Group 3 has defeated the enemy.
Strike group attack order confirmed. Reporting. Roger.
Alright.
Docking
They
with
can
carrier.
go dock with the Kawia. Yeah, see, the frigates are still working on that, on those inhibitors
Standing by.
there.
Docking with carrier. Reporting. Docking with carrier. Copy.
The
Group
second
3
hyperspace
reports victory.
inhibitor has been destroyed.
In fact, let's take a look at one of these hyperspace inhibitors. See, there's these little bulbs that are attached to this asteroid. They kind of look like a giant tick
Copy.
or something. A giant
Docking with
space
carrier.
tick sucking the space blood out of that space turd. That's what they look like. Anyway, as you can see, the torpedoes from the torpedo frigates, right? They're either your standard ones, or like the ones they're shooting now, they can be used against like corvettes and
Standing
strike
by.
craft. They have multiple warheads, like sub-munitions within their warheads. Right, they break apart, but they all target the same thing, but whatever. Of course, torpedo frigates have kind of replaced the assault frigates from Homeworld 1. Ion cannon frigates are of course still there, and flak frigates kind of take the place of drone frigates. There we go. Finally got that one. Got one more to go. These torpedoes need an upgrade. They must be using Mark 15s, Mark 14/Mark 15 torpedoes, right? Got them from surplus from the U.S. Navy in World War II. Should have bought their torpedoes from the Imperial Japanese Navy. Type 93s, those will do a number on these hyperspace gates, I bet. This game just isn't historically accurate. But it's a science fiction game. I don't care! We need Yamato battleships in this game.
Repair target locked in. Confirmed. Strike group to battle positions.
Torpedoes are really, really underwhelming. I do say.
Copy.
Come on. Make it go away so we can get on with the mission. Today, gentlemen, today! Thank you.
We can now initiate a tactical hyperspace jump and move our fleet to within striking distance of the command station.
Took us long enough to get rid of those inhibitors. Sheesh, by the time we did that, I could have just moved there. But hey, we need to be tactical, right? So we're doing a tactical hyperspace jump. A short jump, so to speak. Ooh, look at that. Yeah.
The Vagyr command station is located here. It must be neutralized.
Well, it's command station 05, so... Alright, we'll take that out.
Ready.
Okay, let's get the fleet organized. We need to put them back in their strike groups.
Strike group confirmed.
Of course, we need to launch all our strike craft and get them in their strike groups too. We'll move the carrier ahead as well.
Roger.
You three, go service those frigates.
New
Strike
formation
groups,
acknowledged.
strike craft, get into your strike groups of strike
Strike
craftiness.
group moving into position. Confirmed.
And get moving
Strike group
towards our
coordinates locked
objectives.
in.
Notice there are two
Ready.
objectives there, because one is a shipyard, the other is the
Resource
command
collector awaiting
station.
instructions. Escort pattern locked in.
The rest of you
Resources
can
locked
start
in.
chomping on those asteroids.
Roger. Ready. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Ready.
Remember that the whole reason we're here is to sneak our way into the Gehenna Asteroid field. We're on the outskirts of it. So, supposedly this command station is probably the least defended of them or something.
Strike group, prepare for assault. Acknowledged.
Take those out,
Strike
please.
group attack order confirmed. Confirmed. Strike group under enemy attack.
Group 5 reports enemy contact.
There we go. Melt right through them. I will say, the command station, I wonder if it's sort of modeled on, like, you know, Bespin, Cloud City from The Empire Strikes Back.
Strike group to battle positions.
Oh, here's something.
Copy.
Lando.
Strike group prepare for
Lando system.
Copy.
Lando's not a
Strike
system, he's a
group
man.
attack order confirmed.
Card player, gambler, scoundrel, you'd like it.
Contact.
Actually, to be honest, the command station, it kind of looks like a giant space pancake.
Reporting.
So yeah, I want you to pour the maple syrupy goodness that is your weapons fire onto that thing until it drowns in a syrupy goodness of fiery death and destruction.
Confirmed.
Well, first we should deal with the shipyard.
Confirmed.
Get rid of the shipyard first. The command station has no weapons, so you don't need to worry about it.
Strike group to battle positions. Strike group report.
They did not deign to put weapons on it to defend it,
Prepare for assault.
so they've placed a shipyard
Enemy fire
here.
confirmed. Engage capital ship. Roger.
Oh, and they have a carrier there as well. How
Confirmed.
clever of them.
Strike group attack order.
Frigates,
confirmed.
start engaging those frigates. Take out that
Copy.
carrier. It's making assault frigates.
Strike group to battle positions. Confirmed. Watch for debris. Strike group to battle positions. Copy. Resource collector under attack. Resource collector under attack. Confirmed. Strike group receiving fire. Strike group prepare for assault.
Oh, he's
Ready.
launching fighters. Look at that.
Strike group attack order.
Thinks he can out tacticalize me, huh? Yeah.
Reporting. Attacking capital ship. Copy. Strike group to battle positions. Strike group under enemy attack. Assume combat stations. Ready.
Alright, let's send one group of strike craft after those resourcers. We don't want them taking any more of the RUs.
Strike group.
We want those
Alright.
at the end of the mission.
Understood. Repair
There's
target.
more money for us.
Camcon level 2. Reading contact. Strike group to battle positions. Strike group prepare for assault. I'm taking hits here. Confirmed. Strike group attack order confirmed. Standing by. Roger. Subsystem attack confirmed. Standing by.
There we go. You guys get rid of those harvesters.
Resource collector under attack.
There we go. Don't want them stealing any more of our
Strike group
resources.
to battle positions.
We estimate the enemy's repairs are nearing completion. Time is running out.
Repairs to what? What? Oh, yeah? Did I miss
Confirmed.
something?
Resource collector taking enemy fire. Engage capital ship. Strike group. Prepare for assault. Copy. Stay on top of them.
Alright, let's take out that shipyard.
Ready. Subsystem target acquired.
Well, I thought I'd get up early. I took the liberty of milking your cow. She's a stubborn one, but we don't have a cow. We have a bull. Alright, smash that
Reporting.
shipyard.
Subsystem attack
Yeah,
confirmed.
take out the resourcing subsystem while we're at it. Okay, looks like we've destroyed the resourcing subsystem. It doesn't look gone, but let's just say that it is.
Subsystem target acquired. Copy.
We'll take out the frigate facility. Got that. Cannot build any more
Subsystem target
frigates
acquired.
to frigate us. How about the
Subsystem
fire
target
facility?
acquired.
There we go. Get that while we're at it. It's almost dead.
Roger. Capital ship locked in.
It's gonna make a great big
Standing
old
by.
explosion. Alright.
Strike
Frigates,
group
start
preparing for assault.
taking out that command station.
Group 1 has defeated the enemy.
Reporting. Docking with carrier. Ready. Docking with carrier.
Alright. Let's get him back to the carrier. Back to the carrier, boys, for some R&R. Luckily, that giant shockwave that emanated from the explosion does no harm to us.
Ready. Confirmed.
Have you started shooting yet? Torpedoes, use them. Shoot it with the gun! That's what the bullets are for, you twit! Oh, I suppose they were repairing the command station. Why? Was it damaged or something? Someone drop a lug wrench and cause $5 million worth of damage to it? I mean, such incidents have happened. A dropped tool actually caused an explosion at a nuclear missile silo. I think it was in Arkansas.
Copy.
The guy dropped a tool and
Docking with carrier.
it broke open a fuel tank on the missile and, yeah, started spreading the fuel throughout the silo. And eventually an explosion occurred, blew the top out of the silo. Of course, the nuclear weapon did not explode. I can't do that. It wasn't armed.
Attack order confirmed. Standing by. Strike group to battle positions. Confirmed. Destination locked in. Copy. Roger.
Alright, let's get the strike craft into the mix here. If you let the frigates do it, it'll take forever.
Mothership.
This war will be over.
Mothership underway.
The war will be over by the time we destroy this station. Look at him, he's headed for that small moon. I think I can get him before he gets there. He's almost in range. That's no moon. It's a space station. It's too big to be a space station. Alright, just keep pouring fire on it. It's almost dead.
Group 3.
There we go. We got it.
Resource collector standing by.
Alright, that was fun.
The enemy command station has been neutralized. We can now safely move forward into the Gehenna Asteroid field undetected.
Yes, no one will see us coming. Alright, let's get out of here.
Oracle coordinates locked in.